Hi guys, I'm Max Weinbach with XDATV, and today I'm going to be comparing One UI 1.5 from the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus to One UI 2.0 on the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus. This is essentially Samsung's Android 9.0 update to Android's 10.0 update. So, let's get started! So before we get into, the full comparison between these two devices, essentially the two different operating systems, I wanted to mention the actually older versions of Android on the S10 and S10 Plus, and Galaxy Fold, which is behind me right over there. So all of these phones should have gotten an update with the latest Note 10 features like live focus video and AR Doodle, but I know a lot of phones didn't. So if you get the Android 10 update, you will be getting AR Doodle, live focus video, and DeX on PC if you have the S10, S10 Plus, Galaxy Fold, S10e. Older devices, maybe not out of the S10 series, might get it as well. Also, the Galaxy S9 and Note 9 will be getting One UI 2.0, and a couple older devices here and there. I believe the M30 and M20 both actually had software development start today. So those devices will be getting Android 10 as well. A lot of other Samsung devices will take a little bit more time to receive the updates because that's just how Samsung does it, but this year it is definitely faster than previous years. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into the comparison between these two operating systems. So, these are two Note 10 Pluses. Left is on Android 9, right is on Android 10. These are the exact same device other than the software. They're both US unlocked models running the latest firmware updates on Android 9 and then the latest beta, which is beta 1 for this, but the equivalent would be beta 3 for the S10s. So, this is pretty close to what you're going to be getting. Now, there are a couple things that Samsung has yet to implement. First off, the new keyboard. This doesn't have the swiping gestures on the keyboard, and it doesn't have the animated icons. So, for example, the settings icon here, on the final version, it might come with this, but it's supposed to be in One UI 2.0. It might be with the S11. It might be in a later beta. We don't know yet. Samsung's done some weird things in the past. But, the settings icon will be animated, and it will move, and this is to make the OS feel like it has a personality, which I like. Anything to make the OS feel better is fine by me. So, let's get into the first most apparent difference. It's actually the animations. Now, there are those Android 10 features, which I'll get to in a minute, but I'm just trying to go with One UI. So, the first thing is actually animations. Here, if you click it, you can see it starts off at a bubble and expands like that, where on One UI 1.0, it's a little less refined, as I would say. It's definitely an apparent notification change. It's nothing, it's not a huge deal, but it's a pretty nice change. Second off is actually with the camera UI. So if we go to the camera, let's flip that around. We can immediately see a difference. Now this camera does look frozen, there we go. We can immediately see the difference. Here, it is hollowed text that it's fully white. Those icons changed a little bit. And actually, this uses a More tab, which this one does not. So while switching through modes, you're just going to have to swipe through all of these. Here, you have the modes you want down at the bottom, the ones you'll use often. Everything else goes into the More tab. It's definitely nice. For example, if I use night mode a lot, which I do, I can just drag that down there. And now night mode is down out of the More tab. Here, you can change these around, but that's about it. There's no tab to change everything, which is kind of a shame, but luckily they added it now. Second, quick settings. Or third, actually. Quick settings. As you can see, there is a pretty major difference. This actually has a 4x4 grid. This is a 3x4. Not a major difference, but it does get it a little bit more information dense. It also moves the time over to the left. So instead of being centered, it's over to the left. This just looks a little bit cleaner in my opinion, and it actually matches the lock screen, which is nice. And then if we swipe over, we also have focus mode. Focus mode is just like it is on the Pixels and whatever, it's digital well-being. Now, digital well-being does have a couple updates. So, we go over to digital well-being here. This is what it looks like before, this is what it looks like now. So, they actually changed it. Digital well-being is now digital well-being and parental controls. This will link over to Google, so if you're a parent, you can control your kids' phones. But if you're like me and, not a parent and just wanting to use the phone on your own, digital well-being is what you'll want to use. So you can just select digital well-being, and there is an absolutely massive UI overhaul. This is a lot more cleaner and a lot more streamlined than this. This was essentially a clone of Google's. This is their own thing now. And here you can see we have ways to disconnect, which leads us to focus mode. So we can select focus mode and avoid distractions. Essentially, if you add some focus mode, you can type in the name of the Type in the name of the test, and then you can choose apps you want to focus on. So let's say we want to just use, let's just go Fortnite, focus on gaming, right? This is the only app you can use. So when we start it, every app besides the main apps in Fortnite are available. So essentially only Fortnite's available, and then the main apps, so you can still take pictures, you can still make calls, you can still install apps. That is how focus mode works. It also removes your notifications, which is cool. So that's pretty much the digital well-being change. Next, we're actually going to want to go to settings in general. So first off, you can see the settings looks pretty identical to how it used to. The only difference you're going to see here is actually the themes was moved out of wallpapers, so it's 2 different categories now instead of 1. I like that because themes, I don't really use it, but wallpapers I do use more often. If we go down, we can see biometrics and security is its own option, but it has a new logo. And then they actually moved the privacy and location out of the biometrics and security into its own 2 tabs to go with the Android 10 privacy update. So if we go to the privacy manager, we have access to all of our permissions, and we have just all of our privacy. So we can choose autofill, location history, activity controls, ads, and usage. Here we have those, but they're a bit more in here. It's a lot less clean. Next, we also have the locations, which will let us change these location settings a little bit easier. Again, we have that on here, but it's a lot less clean. So if we go down, we can also go to advanced features. Now, there aren't really any new features here. Most of these, actually all of these came with Android, not even Android. These came with One UI 1.5, which came with the Note 10. So these calls and texts on other devices and link to Windows, that's what came with One UI 1.5 on the Note 10s, and those are also available on the S10 and S10e, S10 Plus Galaxy Fold after the update, which you should have actually gotten on Android 9, but you will get it in Android 10. Now, it does have that screen recorder, but that was previously in this, so I'm not really going to cover it again. Next, we actually have device care. This got a major UI overhaul as well. So, again, this has the same type of design as digital well-being, and it does look a little bit nicer, but there are no new features here. It's just a whole UI overhaul. And you can see up here, this is some insights, which are essentially just that. Again, it's just a UI overhaul, nothing, no major changes. If we go down a little bit more, we can see just normal old tips and help, about phone. And here we can go to actually the software info and pull up the build numbers, Android 10, Android 9. Here we can go pull up the Easter egg. You can see actually it goes around the hole there, and you can kind of see the notification bar. Well, on here it goes black, but that's not it's not a huge deal. And now let's actually go over to gestures, because those are new, because Android 10. So on my Android 9 phone, I do have gestures. On my Android 10 phone, I do have gestures. And right now, the gestures are the same. Swipe up to go home, swipe up from the right to go to notification or recents, swipe up on the left to go back, right? Those are our basic gestures. But those are Samsung gestures. Yeah, those aren't Android 10 gestures. On Android 10, we have the option to switch to it. So if we go here, we can do a swipe up from bottoms and side. Now we can do allow back gesture on keyboard and then sensitivity. I don't actually love it on the keyboard because this is getting a new keyboard feature, which I'll go over to in a second. But we can actually now have it on the back. So this works the same way the Pixel does, the same way any other Android 10 phone with gestures does. Instead of swiping up, we swipe from the side. Now Samsung does have this option here. A lot of phones don't, called gesture hints. So we can see down at the bottom, the bar is now there, and we can swipe up with the bar instead of, nothing. I like it with nothing because it looks a little bit more clean. Now, on this version of Android, Android 9, if we go home, to access Google Assistant, you swipe up and hold, right? That's normal, like holding your home button. On this version, we swipe up from the side, and then Google Assistant opens. Now, it does have Bixby, and Bixby is Bixby, but we don't talk about Bixby because it's Bixby. Now, otherwise, there aren't that many major changes. Again, you have some backend changes with, actually, we can go check that out, with Google Play security updates. So I believe it is in software updates. It is not in software updates. Sorry, Samsung hides their stuff around. Here we go. We can see security update is November, and it should have Google's security update. It's somewhere, but we have Project Mainline, which allows Google to send us security updates through the Play Store, which will be nice if Samsung uses it. And at the moment, I can't actually see it, but it'll be there if Samsung uses it. And actually, a note-specific thing is the S Pen. So if we pull the S Pen out a little bit, we can see there is absolutely no differences in the S Pen. They didn't change anything. And that's a lot of One UI 2.0. They didn't change as much as they could have, but it's here and there. So yeah, this is One UI 2.0, kind of the major differences between One UI 1.5, which is from, like the S10s and other phones, Galaxy Fold. It's One UI 1.0, and this is what we're getting in One UI 2.0. These are the major changes in what you will be getting. I can't say for sure when your device will be getting One UI 2.0. It is a Samsung rollout, to be frank, so we don't know when. We don't know what devices. We don't know when. We know the flagships will be getting it, so 10 series, the 9 series will be getting it. 8 series likely will not, so the S8s are out of luck for updates. The A series, most of the modern A series should be getting it. The M series should be getting it, but Samsung has not put out an official timeline, so we don't know for certain. What we do know is the Note 10s already have the beta, and it is actually running pretty well. As you can see here, it wasn't bugging out much. So expect maybe a stable update end of the year. So again, thank you guys for watching. This is the differences between One UI 1.0 and One UI 2.0. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them in the comments, because I know big software updates means lots of questions. So feel free to ask, and I'll be happy to cover them for you.